The Eletta Explore is a great machine, probably one of the best from Delonghi. But if you use it with the factory settings, the coffee might like body or intensity. Don't worry, it's normal. In 10 minutes, we are going to transform your machine so it finally makes you an excellent espresso. And you will see the difference should be immediate. Hey everyone, I'm Colin. Welcome to Cafe Lista, the channel to learn everything about coffee and espresso at home. Today, we will learn together how to adjust perfectly your Delonghi Eletta Explore. An important disclaimer, these settings are optimized for the Eletta Explore, for my machine and my coffee, but you will need to adapt them based on your coffee and your personal preferences. But with this, you will have an excellent starting point. So let's get started. First, the most important, the espresso settings. The first crucial adjustment, the water volume. What is the best volume in our cup? By default, the Eletta Explore often produces volumes between 50-60 milliliters for an espresso. That's usually too much. Here, we will go into the menu of each drink. That's something great with the Eletta Explore and the screen. We can adjust the volume every time for each drink. And here we have a choice here between small and extra large. So we will focus here on the small, which is about 35 milliliter, and medium, which is around 40. We could go up to 45, but after that, if we go up to 55-60 milliliter of extraction, usually it's no longer really good. We have a lot of bitterness and dilution, so we will try to stay on a pretty small amount of coffee. And yes, don't forget, this is a machine that is supposed to make an espresso, not a filter coffee or not a big mug of coffee, even if you can. The good setting of the espresso is extremely important to make the rest of the drinks. Now let's look into the intensity and the dose of coffee. The Eletta Explore offers 5 intensity levels. I have precisely measured the dose for the maximum intensity. We are generally between 11-12 grams of coffee. So this will change depending on the type of coffee, the density, the machine will adjust. These are fairly standard doses. I encourage you to also measure your dose because with that number we will be able to precisely adjust the volume in our cup. To do that, it's quite easy. You just start a new espresso, you let the machine grind the coffee. When it stops, you just cancel your drink. You will find the coffee ground here in the coffee container. Sometimes it's a little bit wet, so be sure to dry your coffee. When it's fully dry, you can weight it and see where you are. You might know that bean-to-cup machines are made to make espresso. So here we will apply the rules that could be quite precise with a traditional machine. But we will adapt those rules to make it a little bit more easier for a super automatic machine. So for intensity, I recommend starting with 4 or usually 5. The problem with the bean-to-cup machine is often under extraction, which gives you an overly acidic coffee. So set the intensity to the maximum, which will give you the maximum amount of ground coffee. And it is even more important if you use a light roast. And if you want to go further with the settings of your bean-to-cup machine, I have prepared a complete and free guide. You can download it in the description. You can go have a look. Let's dive now into the grind setting. This is the crucial setting. This is the most important one for espresso. With the Eletta Explore and any Delonghi, you have the choice for 13 positions in the grinder. By default, sometimes it's set to 5 or 6, which can be a little bit too coarse. But an important side note, if your machine is completely new, I recommend using it normally without making any changes for at least 1 or 2 weeks. This will allow time for the different parts and mechanism to settle normally. The grinder burrs also need what we call the break-in period. It often takes maybe 50 coffee to slightly smooth the burrs. So if your machine is brand new, use it normally for a little while, then you can come back and adjust the settings. Because yes, you usually might have to do that. So which position to choose? That's a great question. Usually for me, I am between 2 and 3.5, even 4. But to be conservative, between 2 and 3. The perfect settings here depends on several factors. The freshness of your coffee, the degree of roasting. The darker the roast, usually the coarser you would need to grind. And of course, your machine. Each grinder is slightly different. But remember, the goal here is to have a coffee that flows regularly. For a traditional espresso machine, we aim for 25-30 seconds. Here it's quite difficult, it's most impossible. So you could aim for 15 to 20 seconds. That's already pretty good. Don't grind too fine that the flow starts to drip. That's also not good. But if you have your espresso in less than 10 seconds, that means that your coffee is too coarse. 2 important warnings here. Always adjust the grinder while it's running. Never when it's stopped, to avoid damaging the grinder. And another important element, you need to wait at least 3 coffees to really feel the changes. So setting up your machine can take a little while, it's normal, and it's also normal to waste some coffee if you want the perfect settings. Let's talk about the temperature of extraction, because we can have the tendency to forget that. The temperature of water is quite important. The hotter the water is, the more extracted your coffee will be. For the Eletta Explore, I generally recommend staying on the maximum settings, especially if you like your coffee hot enough. But if your coffee is very dark, like an Italian roast for example, if it's oily, and by the way, it's better not to use really oily beans. But if you have a really dark roast, you could try to put the temperature on the medium setting. It might help to avoid extract too much bitterness. And be careful, your first extraction after turning on the machine might be a little bit colder, so don't forget to preheat your cup. So, what is my best setting with this machine? To give you a concrete example, my grinder is at 2, intensity at 5, the maximum, my volume between S and M, usually around S, which will give us, as I said, 35 grams, and that gives us a ratio of 1 to 3, meaning the triple the weight of the ground coffee in the cup. So if we have 10 grams of ground coffee, we will have a cup around 30 grams. For an automatic machine, this is often the right balance. A quick reminder, the classic ratio for a traditional espresso machine is 1 to 2. So for 10 grams of coffee, we want 20 grams in the cup. But as I said, with this type of machine, 1 to 3 is good. Now that we have set the best settings for our espresso, as I mentioned, this is really the most important thing. Let's look at the milk drinks, hot and cold. The Eletta Explore excels in milk drinks thanks to the LatteCrema system, but there are 2 important tips. So the tip number 1 for the hot system, use whole milk. Why? Because the fat in milk when heated becomes liquid and helps stabilize the foam. So it's gonna make better foam and longer. The tip number 2, also important, always use cold milk straight from the fridge. Why? This gives more time for the protein to properly deploy and form a stable and creamy foam. If you're still here with me, I have a little favor. If these tips help you and if you want to support the channel, please go leave a like down below. Now let's talk about the LatteCrema Cool, the one to make cold foam. But be careful, for the cold system you must use a skimmed milk, 1.5% fat. It is exactly the opposite of the hot system. So here it's important to remember the practical reality. You need to have 2 different types of milk in your fridge if you want to use and if you want to have good drinks with the 2 LatteCrema system. Ideally, whole drink for hot and skimmed milk for cold. To summarize, your optimal setting will probably be a grinder between 2 and 3.5, 4, an intensity to the maximum, a maximum volume in your cup between 40-45 milliliters, and maximum temperature. So don't forget the break-in period for a new machine. Let it run for a week or 2 before making any major adjustments. By applying these settings, you must now have an excellent espresso and cappuccino. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you don't want to miss any more video about the Eletta Explore. If you want to go further with the bean-to-cup machine, the guide is also free in the description. And if you're still here and if you appreciated this video, I will recommend watching the one here. I am pretty sure you will like it. I hope you will have a good day. I'll see you soon on Cafe Lista, hopefully next week. Ciao.